Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I hope everyone had a nice week. I have 1 week left of school. And today we took some students on a field trip, and I was able to get out of the classroom for the entire day. I was so happy. It was a beautiful day, and we actually walked from our school to the Natural History Museum. We spent all day there. We were in the Rose Garden. It was just a really nice day. Of course, I have 1,000 pictures, but I'm not going to show you those. But I do have 2 movies, 2 books, and a bunch of little things to show you. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first, I want to say it might seem like I'm in a little bit of an awkward position. That's because I have my dog right here on my lap. I don't know, he's feeling weird this week. He's been shaking a lot. I think he ate something bad. I don't know what's going on with him. So I got him in my lap while I'm here, just to show him some love and support. He's even shaking right now. That's Angel. I don't know what he did, but yeah, he's not feeling good. So he's like right here on my lap. So let's start. Why don't we start with this? So of course I showed this book last week, and somebody out there who will be nameless, of course, said, you need to read that book and do a review. And I was like, ugh, of course you'd ask me to review this book. So what I did was I went ahead and I read the first chapter, and I'm going to give you the lowdown on this. To me, it does so far in only one chapter. I don't see much ESP going on. It's all about, to be honest with you, it's about the power of positive thinking. And they want you to imagine these rings around your body that extend to God. So one of them, you basically imagine a ring of positive thought all around your body. And then this ring is going to extend out. And then you're going to imagine another ring, and there's going to be a line directly to God. And you're going to get this energy from God that is going to sustain you. And the person warns you over and over never to use this for anything negative, anything in this book, because it will come back on you tenfold worse. There's some eye-opening things in this book. So besides the cosmic ring stuff, there's this really, really bold statement that I'm going to read. I was truly shocked when I read this. I believe that in time, scientists will discover, as I have, that so many cancer victims have harbored a grudge of long standing against a person. Basically, the author is saying that you've got cancer because you're a hater. I was like, what? And he goes on to explain it. Usually people get very angry when I tell them this. And if you who are reading this happen to have cancer, you may be angry too. I am convinced that if one harbors hatred, it becomes a corrosive, self-consuming acid. Now, I get it that there probably can be a connection between health and harboring bad feelings. But this is taking it to the extreme, right? Because with bad feelings comes stress, and we found out, stress definitely causes some problems in the body. But to say that everyone who has cancer is because they've been angry at people. And he goes on to say, there was a case where there was this one woman, and I said, you have cancer, I think, because you've been hateful to someone in your life. And the woman hung up on him. And but a few days later, she called back and she says, oh, you're right. I've been thinking about it, and I have a long-standing grudge against my mother-in-law. And so the person in the book, he was like, well, you really, really need to make up with your mother-in-law. And then she made up with her mother-in-law, and they became really good friends after that. They realized that their hatred was based on something trivial, and they started to love each other, and then the cancer went away. And I was just like, oh. And so I don't know. It's and then he goes on to tell you like this is a workbook. So you're supposed to like do this. So if you want to do this with me, you can. Okay? To make your golden magic circle, visualize a golden circle, quite a large one, completely surrounding you. And he says, so you have to visualize this. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, right? But they're saying like, this is a golden circle that's related to God's energy. And this is the magic circle that is God, and it is good. The moment you have pictured your golden magic circle around your body, spread your arms and visualize that area as being completely filled with golden light. Visualize now a golden line of infinity going from the top of your head to God. Visualize this lifeline holding you aloft when you are tired, feeling old, or discouraged. Okay, so I would interpret this as the power of positive thinking. If whenever you're tired or discouraged, you sit down and think of everything that you're grateful for in your life, that can certainly turn your mood around. But anyways, now visualize another line going from your diaphragm or waist to the horizon. This is the other lifeline which ties you to God's infinity. Okay, I'm only in the first chapter. But I will say that this is a used book. And in the book, they instruct you to take notes. And there's even a section for notes. The author says this: I've instructed the creators of this book to leave notes at the end. And so someone actually wrote and put their notes, and it's really, really interesting, the notes that they wrote. So, and everything inside this circle, you're supposed to wish for everything that you want in life. And if you follow this magic golden circle, you will get what you desire. And this person wrote some really beautiful things, but also, you know, of course, some personal things that they wanted, like a Mark III Lincoln Continental. I was laughing, like, yeah, they seriously wanted this giant boat of a car. But there's also some very sweet things in here, about wishing the people that they know in their life, a lot of health, happiness. And it's so far, I am actually not sorry that I read this book. It's eye-opening. Like, when he said that about cancer, I was just like, oh no, I'm definitely going to keep reading this book. So if you want further updates, please let me know in the comments. Or if that was enough for you, that's okay too. Let me talk about 2 comics. Okay, so the first one I got this week was this Marvel Chillers, which I never had. So this is Tigra, or I'm not sure if it's Tigra or Tigra, but I've always said Tigra, the Werewoman. And this is definitely a Kirby cover, but this thing was cracking me up. So we've got Red Wolf, which I don't even really know him much as a character. But he says, this is the Super Skrull. The Super Skrull can take on the Fantastic Four. All of them. And he says, you dared to oppose the Super Skrull? Female? Now pay the price. And then look at him. He's got her like held down, and he's getting ready to punch her with this big brick of a fist. I mean, that's some racy stuff. And he calls her female. You dared to oppose me, female? This cover really is cracking me up. Kirby, but wow, look at that Kirby goodness. And who's this green guy? I've got to read this one, actually. Hopefully there'll be some more gems inside like that. Now, I'm about to do something that I've been debating whether I should do or not, because I don't like to really be negative toward artists. But I was in a whatnot room, and they do giveaways, and they show what they're going to give away, and I did not want to enter this giveaway, but the person running it says, hey, there's 19 of you and only like 17 have joined the giveaway. I need all of you to join. And I thought, oh, well, I got to, show my support. So I joined. I was hoping that I would not win this. And of course, I won it. This comic book is just god awful. And of course, it's Liefeld art. Is it Liefeld? And maybe someone else. I mean, I got to take this out. So first of all, I don't know when this comic book came out. So this comic book, let me see if I can see the date. Because to me, this screams of 90s excess. I don't know if this is 90s or not. But it's got one of these chromium covers, right? And so, I mean, just look at this art. So, number one, there's this gigantic woman. And then another woman, like, seems like half her size. I mean, look at her body. It's like this. This is not possible in a human body. And, like, I don't want to see this woman's butt. Maybe some of you out there want to see that. I don't know. Like, I don't want to see that. But just look. Like, this is not possible. This is like and then how do you arch your back like that? And I don't know. Maybe for some of you, this is a turn on, but this art is just god awful. And then there's the back. It's like a wraparound cover of goodness. Is that a wraparound? Yeah, it's a wraparound. And then when you open it up, like the first thing you see is this woman, and she practically looks naked until you like really look at it. But I'm like, I don't know. Liefeld art. Like I said, he's got a lot of fans. I don't want to put him down. I did not want this comic book. I don't want this kind of art anywhere near my collection. But this stuff is just awful. It's awful. Well, look at her. Like, who stands around with their back arched like that? And look at those. Something's gonna pop. I don't know. This is like this is just the worst. Oh, look at this woman just sitting around. That's how she sits around in her house. This is just so awful. Oh my God. It's just everywhere you look, there's like boobs. It's just a boob fest. Oh, Lord. Oh, look, there's a centerfold. I can't believe this. I don't know what to do. Oh, here's the butt. If somebody want to see some butt, there it is. And look at this. He's so bad at drawing ankles and hands. And she like cracked that lady in the face. What is this? She's wearing a tutu. This is just like the most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen. Okay, well, I'm almost done. Oh, wait, they're kissing. That's a positive, I guess. I don't know. Are any of you, here's like a teaser for something to come. Are any of you Liefeld fans, or do any of you find this sexy? If you do, okay, that's your opinion. I'm definitely not going to agree with you, but I don't like women. Maybe men who like this art, they like to see their women, I don't know, with these ginormous breasts and their backs arched in like impossible position. Like if a woman did that, her spine would snap. I don't know. But is this any better? I mean, Chris running around in a bikini. Oh gosh, comic books. Oh, so I was in one whatnot room, and the guy there was promoting his art. And so if you spent $10, he would give you an art piece. So his name is Sketchy Joe. It's got 2 Y's. So I figured I would just promote him because I got this art free. Here's a Michael Myers print. I thought it was kind of neat. And that he was giving away his art, to promote himself when you bought some comics. I found that endearing. Here's another one. This was the one I actually wanted the most. I told him I because I really like his drawing of these animals. I thought they were actually really, really well done. And in fact, in this picture, I think the snake is probably the best of the art on the whole page. I just thought that was really nice. So I was very happy to get these original art pieces signed by Sketchy Joe. There you go. Okay, so I have show and tell, I have books, I have movies. So why don't I kind of divide it up? Why don't I go over 2 movies, show and tell, and then the books? So last week I said I hadn't watched any movies, and I lied. I hadn't realized that I'd actually seen 2 and just forgotten. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk about them, although it's been a week. So let me talk about the first one, which was called A Walk in the Woods. Now, this is based on a travel writer, and his name is escaping me. Oh my gosh, really famous one. Shoot. So, I guess later in life, he wanted to walk the Appalachian Trail, I guess, which is a notoriously really difficult trail to walk. And no one would go with him. He was an older man, and he just wanted, he was going through some stuff in his life, and he just wanted to kind of, get out there in the woods. And an older buddy of his that he hadn't seen in years said, hey, he found out, and he was like, can I go with you? And then when he shows up, this guy has, been addicted to drugs and in and out of rehab and everything. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know it's got an amazing cast. It's Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. Now, is this movie going to be like the best thing you've ever seen all year? No, but I just put it on. Let me do that again. I just put it on. That was like a flourish. I just put it on. And because I think I saw they were advertising Nick Offerman. And I think Nick Offerman's cute. So I played it, and he's in like one little scene in the entire movie. I'm like, why did they advertise Nick Offerman as like when you pull it up on Netflix, I think it's got Nick Offerman's face, but it's Robert Redford and Nick Nolte's movie. That boggled my mind. So it's basically these 2 people with very different personalities, learning to get along with each other and finding out what they liked about each other at all. And like I said, it's not going to be the best movie but you've ever seen, but I really, really enjoyed it. Just especially because you're watching these 2, powerhouse actors together. And, they're both later in their careers. I would highly recommend this movie for light entertainment. And the next movie I watched was called Veteran. And it's a Korean movie that was recommended by, there's a YouTuber I watch. Man, I cannot remember anything. I need to write this stuff down. So there's a YouTuber I watch. He's always saying, the best movies that are on Netflix or Hulu. Or this one was a movie about the best Korean movies on Netflix. And so I watched this movie, and it was really good. It's basically an action movie. It's a cop movie. There's like a really, really bad villain who's used to doing everything and getting away with everything. And then this cop is going to reach the lowest lows before he's able to get at the villain. And so I really did enjoy this movie. A lot of great action. It's going to, be a Korean movie with, if you're used to Korean movies, right, there's going to be a lot of things that you wouldn't normally see in an American movie. I'm used to watching Korean movies. A lot of character quirks that you might see to endear you to the characters that might not necessarily endear an American audience to the character. And it's like most Korean movies, very overly long. But I did really enjoy this movie, and I would recommend it. Veteran. So those are the 2 movies that I watched. So now let's do a little bit of show and tell. before we go on to the two books that I finished this week. So I have some paperback books that I want to show you, and it's quite a big collection. So I won't spend too much time on any one book. I've got way more to show, but this is the cream of the crop. So I'm kind of getting into these vintage paperbacks, and I mean, look at this one. It's Geisha. I'm not sure if I showed some of these last week, so if I did, sorry. A warm-blooded novel about an American doctor and the #1 pleasure girl of all Japan. A warm-blooded novel, but I bought it for the art. I mean, I don't really care about that storyline, but I just loved that cover. Next, we've got The Hours After Midnight. And we got that cool font and that great black and white photo. Yeah, this is going to be noir for sure. This book I'm so happy to get because I'm a big Shirley Jackson fan. Well, I wouldn't say, like, I've read a lot of her stuff and I really, really appreciate her writing. And I actually have this in another version. But to get this old vintage paperback of a Shirley Jackson novel, Life Among the Savages. And then there's a sequel to it called Raising Demons, so I have to get that one. So if you know, Shirley Jackson she wrote a lot about what I say, like horror, like, you know, gothic and horror. And this is her writing about the children of the neighborhood, I think. Life Among the Savages. I got this beautiful Richard Wright book, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Look at that cool art on that one. Uncle Tom's Children by Richard Wright. I think I said that. Look at this this great Western, Hired Guns. Oh, I think I showed this one before, but wow, look at that cover. If I showed it again, it's worth seeing it again. It's such a cool book. That's a pocket book. Here we go. Damon Runyon, Poems for Men. These are only for men. So this is the guy who wrote Guys and Dolls. Over 100 virile, roistering ballads about guys and dolls by the guy who knew them best of all. Roistering. Virile. I mean, come on. What more do you want in a book? That is so awesome. The Robot Brains. Look at that cover. Ooh, that one is gorgeous. Look at the back of that one. That is so cool. That thing looks like it's something out of Doctor Who, though. This one I bought, not because of the guy on the cover. I mean, he looks kind of ridiculous. But it's a Boris. What do you say, Boris Vallejo? Artwork. I mean, you got to admit, that's a great piece of art. I mean, the guy doesn't look bad either. I'll admit that. Okay. This one I couldn't pass up. Star Anchored, Star Angered. I mean, look at this. This cosmic alien. Like, I don't know. When I saw this, I thought of a hippie dazzler. I mean, and all these the hands reaching up to, you know, an adulation. And this, like, Whoville. This is kind of reminding me of Dr. Seuss. But what a crazy cosmic cover, man. I like that one. And this one is another one that was kind of ridiculous that I could not pass up. First of all, look at this cover. What is it called? The Baudelaire Way, or the Baudelaire Way? Was this the face that launched 1,000 starships? What do you think of that? That's hilarious. Oh, here we go. This one, Conquest of Earth. I don't know what to make of this one. This one's got some questionable material. The Masters of the Planet Earth, the Scarlet Order of Men, Conquest of Earth, and it's by Manly Bannister. That has got to be a pseudonym. Manly Bannister. Like, who names their kid Manly Bannister? I don't know. Excuse me. And it's the Scarlet Order of Men. And the last two that I'm going to show you, these are kind of like my dream books. I want this entire set of, it's going to be a long road to get these, but I've got two. And that's Michael Moorcock's one in the Elric series. And it's like the 7th book. And this one is in the History of the Rune Staff. I don't think I read these as a kid, but I'm sure I read these. I don't know if I made it all the way to the 7th, but I probably did. Near the end of the series, it got a little bit weird for me because all the characters, they start meeting up with all the alternate versions. Like every book series is another version of the same character, but in a different, like, alternate Earth or something like that. And they all kind of meet up at the end of time. And it got a little confusing because, you know, I hadn't read any of these. And so as a kid, I was just a little bit confused or bored or something. But I'm very much looking forward to getting all the Michael Moorcock books in this series and any other series for that matter. But aren't those gorgeous? Okay, so that was the last of the books to show you. Oh, wait, I will say this. I found this in the free book drop. Someone dropped off this H.G. Wells' The Food of the Gods. That's pretty cool. It's a Popular Library edition. Along with 2 other books. I'll show you them. Why not? This is really nice. It's only slightly beat up, but it was free. Slightly beat up. This book of poems, Solitude, and Coffee with Shakespeare. This is interesting because there's this whole series of books where the author imagines meeting up with these famous people and at a coffee shop. Could be good, right? I don't know. Oh, all right. Hold on. Oh, let me grab my iPad. So what am I talking about next? I'm talking about I guess this is going to be it, right? The 2 books that I read. So let me go ahead and open that up for you. Well, let me show you this. I was scrolling through and I found that in March, there's going to be a vintage paperback collector's show and sale in March, 44th big year. It costs $10 to get in, and it's in Glendale, which is not far from me. So unless I get sick, I'm absolutely going to this. So who's flying into LA to go to this with me? This sounds pretty fun. Like everybody just putting all their vintage paperbacks out, and you know, a big show where you can look through them, buy them. You could see all the really expensive ones, get a feel for the market. I know I'm kind of new to this. I've collected paperbacks for a long time, but not vintage ones. I've picked them up here and there. But now I'm starting to get kind of interested in them, and I've been watching some YouTube videos about real collectors, and you know, they go in their number 1 order, like which paperbacks are like the first in the series and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun and fascinating. So for $10, I'm definitely in on that. Okay. I'm getting a little bit of parched throat. So I'm going to talk about the 2 books that I listened to. So I'll start with the pulp one. I finished this one today. So I finished Edgar Rice Burroughs' The Lost Continent. And I'm going to say that this one must have been later in his career because he talks about the Great War. Now, the Great War, I get confused if that's World War I or World War II. But this is definitely after it, I think. And in many ways, this book is very different from the other one that I listened to for last week. Number one, there's much, much less racism. In fact, there was no hint of racism at all until near the very end. And it was actually very light, and it wasn't bad. For the time that he wrote this, it really wasn't objectionable at all, really. I mean, he just refers to different races of their skin, you know, by the skin color. So, I mean, you know, that's not good. But way better than that other one that I listened to, because that one was just rife with it. In many ways, this felt like an H.G. Wells book, because normally you have a group of sailors or something, or they they happen on like an island, or they go in a submarine, or what was another one? Oh, they drilled through the earth, scientists, and they happen upon, this weird land. Well, this one takes place in the future. There's been a horrible war, and they've been restricted from crossing a certain line, and they all live in this continent called Pan. I forget what was it called, Pan America, Pan America, or Pangea. I'm not sure if it was Pangea. I don't think so. Anyways, they're trying to go back, and like there was a war and everything like got obliterated, and then they're not allowed by law to go into a certain section, maybe because of radiation or what have you. And the section that they can't go into is where England was. And so in many aspects, this feels more like H.G. Wells, because it's set way in the future after a war, and it's really like one of the themes is like the folly of war, and how war just warps and destroys humanity. Now there were a couple of things that were pretty funny. Like there was a lot of jingoistic ideas about manly courage based on your country. Oh, he acted like a true British man in the face of danger. He never backed down, which was the British way. And I mean, there's a lot of kind of stuff, cringeworthy stuff like that. But overall, and of course, it has the same plot. Like these people just go into this strange land, and there's all these weird creatures, and then there's tribes of men, and he sees a beautiful woman and falls in love with her, and he's got to rescue her, and she rescues him, and they get into all these situations. It's the same plot, but it was still very enjoyable. I enjoyed this book, and I kind of appreciated the change in sci-fi. Like this was more sci-fi because of the futuristic elements, and like I said, it really reminded me of H.G. Wells. So this is about my fourth or fifth Edgar Rice Burroughs book since I started this, and I'm still really enjoying them. Next, I did listen to a book that was nominated for the Booker, I think this year. I don't I'm pretty sure. Anyways, I was familiar with this writer, so I listened to This Other Eden by Paul Harding. And as I started listening to it, I was like, oh, Paul Harding, that name sounds familiar to me. And so I looked him up, of course, and he had written a book that I absolutely loved. And it's one of the only books that I've actually read twice, not because of school or anything. I loved the book that he wrote called Tinkers. It was his first book, and it actually won the Pulitzer Prize, which is why I read it. I really liked that book. And it wasn't that I loved the entire book, but there were some beautifully described passages that really stuck with me. And for that reason, I really liked that book. Now, a friend of mine, I mention her often. I remember she did not like it because she felt like it was trying too hard, right? It felt like too creative writing, right? And in fact, the author is a creative writing teacher. So this is his third book. I didn't even know that he had a second and third. I mean, I haven't followed his career. So this is his third book, and I listened to this, and I actually really liked it too. And I went and I already got his second book. I put it on hold. So This Other Eden has a really interesting story, but it's also it took me a little while to warm to it, but there are some beautifully written passages. I'm going to describe one. So first off, it's about what governments did to Native people by, coming in, taking away their children, forcing them off their land, putting them in mental institutions, taking their children, and forcing them into orphanages or things like that. I mean, just the whole, and like what this did to people, not only at the time but long term, to, the people, and what just the long-term effects of this, of those kind of policies. uh, but it does focus on one family that is living on an island. And so one of the I'm going to just describe one scene, and one of the children is getting ready to be shipped off to somewhere else because he's got very light skin and he can pass. And so there's one person on the island who knows what's coming, and he's trying to protect as many kids as he can. So he's, he knows that this boy, he's a very talented painter, and so he wants to send him to an apprenticeship and get him out of this situation because he knows what's coming. And so there's this really tender scene. Now this is going to sound really, really weird, but they get the boy, and they're pouring kerosene in his hair because the life on the island is not very clean. A lot of the children, everybody has some kind of like nits, or I don't know what you would call those, lice in their hair. And so they want to send them off clean, and so the mom is pouring kerosene in his hair and picking all the nits out. Now, this sounds disgusting, right? But this writer turns it into something very tender and loving. And he takes something that is so like kind of repulsive, right? And he turns it into this scene of love, because, the mother knows that they're sending away the kid possibly for good. They might never see him again. And this loving act of just, trying to prepare him to go out into the, to the world. It's scenes like this that this writer, I think, does so well. They're so well written that yeah, I was still very impressed by this book. It didn't win the Booker Prize, but I certainly admire what this writer can do with certain scenes. There are quite a few scenes in the book like that. They just touch you. They're so well written. I'm not going to say that it's consistent throughout, because I don't think any writer can consistently write beautiful scene after beautiful scene throughout an entire 200-page book. And certainly there are great writers who do write they have different aspects to their writing that hold your attention. But like I said, there's just certain scenes in his books that really come to life and just bring those words right off the page and imprint these images in your mind. So if what I said interested you, you might want to go ahead and check out that book. So I've spoken for 37 minutes, and I made you sit through this. Poor Rob Liefeld. I don't know if I should have done that. He's one of the top selling artists of all time. So who cares what I say? That guy is laughing all the way to the bank. More power to you. Rob, if I could draw even halfway good at this and sell my work and make all the millions you have, more power to you. But dude, oh Lord. All right, I want to wish everyone a great weekend. I might actually make a couple videos this week. There's a couple contests that I want to join, just to show some people some support. And but like I said, I just want to wish everyone the best weekend, and I want to thank everybody out there for the support.